Let's talk about the high bar back squat. Now, the way I like it done is to have the bar on top of the traps, right? Because it's high bar, it needs to be on as high up on the torso as possible. When you're doing this as well, we want to make sure that you're attempting to keep the torso as straight as possible. When you're setting up for this, you want to make sure that you're driving 1 foot forward, getting nice and set under the bar. Get the bar set first, get both feet under you, then lift the bar up and walk out.
Mm-hmm. Whereabouts would you place your hands?
Basically, you want to look at it as, functionally what can they do, right? So what we'd like to see is for the hands to be as close to the shoulders as possible, but not everyone's going to have that range of motion. So if people have to keep their hands a little bit wider, what I typically tell people to do is use a false grip. So instead of wrapping the thumb around the bar, just wrap the thumb up over the top. If you can get the bar in and you've got the range of motion, then we go ahead and pull that in. And that allows you to keep that upper back tightness. It allows you to rotate the elbows underneath the bar so that you've got the bar stacked above your elbow and your wrist.
Okay, now let's talk when you are stepping out, you've got the bar on your back and you're going to perform the first rep. What is something that you like to cue your clients to be setting up with?
Yeah, first things first, we want to make sure we're going into a neutral spine. So in a lot of cases, we'll have the client not push their hips forward, but clench the butt cheeks so that they're in a nice position. When they're going down, we like them to open their knees quite a bit, and don't think about pushing the floor out with your feet, because that's a cue that a lot of people use. We think rather to push the knees out slightly and make sure the knees are tracking over the toes. When we get to the bottom, we want to make sure that we're getting as deep as we can without getting a lot of butt wink. Like if the butt wink's right at the very bottom, that's okay, but you'll see a lot of times when people break parallel that their hips start to shift under, and that's probably not a good idea, especially if you continue to go down into the bottom.
Okay. Now, in terms of with the bar path, are we looking at breaking at the hips first, breaking at the knees first, or breaking both together?
Yeah, with a high bar squat, what we're wanting is the hips and the knees to break simultaneously. In a lot of cases, your knees are probably gonna break a little bit earlier, but what you're not wanting to do is sit back. You want the bar to go straight up and straight down, and typically you want the bar path to be over about the mid part of your foot, right?
Okay.
So you think about the bar as being a stationary object that just goes up and down, like if you were doing it in a Smith machine, and you're working your body around that. Okay. If you start sitting back too much, you're going to topple over backwards. If you start sitting over too forward, then you're going to start pressing through your feet, through your toes, and that's going to put a lot of shear force on the knees.
Okay. Now, if someone can't get to the bottom adequately, what are you going to do to regress, or how are you going to change this movement?
The first thing is we need to look back at like your Craig's testing and your scour drop test. Is your client actually, are their feet and their legs in the right position? So if you have them with feet forward, possibly they need to rotate the feet out, right? If your feet are narrow, maybe they need to go a little bit wider. So that's the first thing we look at. Now, if they're looking pretty good down and up, but they can't achieve the range of motion, then we would look at raising the heel. So by raising the heel, that'll allow them to get a deeper depth.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And if they can't do it, even with a heel lift, and it doesn't look pretty and it's causing pain, then the squat probably isn't a good lift for them currently, and so we would regress back. And by regressing back, we would look at something like a goblet squat or a counterbalance squat that allows them to learn spatial awareness and balance and find the center of where they need to be.
Perfect.
Yeah.